welcome or welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated. Truly is. Before we get started, let me give you my usual disclaimer that this video is for educational purposes only. Please do not take what I say as fact. Please always do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Next. If you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please consider doing so. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. So today we are talking about the brutal and tragic death of 17-year-old Amber Hess. 17-year-old Amber Leanne Hess was born on September 5th, 1989 in Queen Creek, Arizona, to parents Mike and Candy Hess. She was a recent graduate of Coolidge High School. Queen Creek is a small town that's about 30 miles from Phoenix, Arizona, and there's really not much to do there. Amber was described as someone that would speak her mind. She was sassy but kind, outgoing, and she was liked by everyone that knew her. She loved hanging in the park with her friends, her dog, taking pictures, social media, and eating hot Cheetos. She was just your typical teenager, basically. When Amber was a junior in high school, she would meet and befriend a boy named Todd Hoke, and the two would form a fast friendship, bonding over their shared interests in movies and music. Todd was described as a sweet boy who was soft-spoken. He came from a pretty troubled background, and his father was not in the picture. His mother was addicted to substances, so she would end up losing custody of all her children. Todd would go to live with his very religious grandmother, but being a teenage boy, he found it difficult to conform to her rules and regulations. So, to rebel, he started going out, drinking, and smoking weed. He spent a lot of time at Amber's house, school nights, weekends, and he was a regular at the family's dinner table. Because Amber was pretty much one of the only friends that had a car, they would spend a lot of time driving around and they would go to the movies quite often. While on these drives, Todd would often vent to Amber about how difficult it was for him to live under his grandmother's rules. Which, boo fucking who, Todd, okay? Like, we all have to live under our parents, grandparents, guardians' rules when we're teenagers. That's just the way life works. There were many nights that he would show up to Amber's window because he was having problems at home. So he would sneak out and he would go to Amber's house. And most nights when he showed up, he was either drunk or high. This bothered Amber quite a bit, but because she wasn't the type to turn people away, especially her friends, she would always welcome him inside. She would always sit down and she would always listen to what he had to say. At some point in time, Todd would end up getting a girlfriend. And to say that she wasn't happy about Todd and Amber's close bond would be an understatement. She would make being friends with Amber very difficult for Todd, and she actually even threatened Amber once with a knife after she found out that Amber was encouraging Todd to break up with her. It is said, though, that the reason that Amber was encouraging Todd to break up with his girlfriend was because of the way that she was treating him. And Amber was his friend, and Amber cared about him, so she was doing what friends do. With that being said, I also think that she did have a thing for him. We'll get there. This would obviously cause a rift in the pair's friendship, and they actually wouldn't talk for a bit. That's until one day when Todd shows up at Amber's doorstep to make things right. The two would pick up right where they left off because that was the type of friendship that they had. And one day while they were hanging out in Amber's bedroom, like they had done so many times before, they ended up taking their friendship a little too far and ended up sleeping together. From the research that I've done, I got the impression that Amber liked Todd a lot more than he liked her, and maybe she was even in love with him. Those things have never been confirmed, though. These feelings were not reciprocated from Todd, and he let Amber know that sleeping together was basically a one time deal and that he wanted to make things work with his girlfriend. What Todd would later find out was that Amber was pregnant with his baby. Just prior to sleeping with Todd, Amber broke up with a boyfriend of hers. But the two remained friends, and it was an amicable breakup. She also had a boyfriend prior to that boyfriend that was quite abusive and threatened her life. Her parents knew nothing about either of these boyfriends, and to be honest, I wasn't surprised by this because most teens keep details about who they like or who they're dating from their parents. And even if their parents meet the person that they're dating, I feel like most teens downplay, the relationship. So it wasn't a huge surprise that the parents had no idea about either one of these boyfriends. June 27th, 2007, 6 weeks after graduation, Amber, Todd, and mutual friend Nick Castillo hang out at Amber's house while her parents are in Mexico for the weekend. Nick had a few run-ins with the law. On April 8th of 2005, he was charged with assault and disorderly conduct. September 18th, 2006, he was charged with supplying alcohol to a minor, and he was also expelled from school. So, not exactly the person that you want your child hanging out with. The three went to see a movie, and then they went back to Amber's house to hang out, with Amber never knowing that she was being set up to be killed that evening by her best friend. The plan was for Todd to distract Amber while Nick made his move. Todd and Amber were sitting on the bed looking at pictures together, and as soon as Todd gave Nick the signal, he put a foam cord around Amber's neck and he tried to strangle her. The cord would end up breaking, though, and that would give Amber a chance to flee, knocking the bedroom door off the hinges. She runs into the kitchen, headed for the back door, but tragically, Todd catches up to her. He grabs her by the hair and he drags her to the floor. Nick grabs a knife and the two begin. During the murder, Todd even says, "This bitch just won't die." That's how heartless and ruthless he was. This is your best friend. Amber was stabbed multiple times in the liver, ribs, and aorta. After she was dead, Todd told Nick to grab her parents' guns and televisions to make it look like a robbery. They grabbed the comforter off Amber's bed along with the pictures that they were looking at right before the murder. They wrapped her in her comforter, put Amber in her car, drove her out to the desert, and set her body on fire. They then got back in Amber's car and they drove away like nothing happened. They parked the car in very close proximity to both of their homes and they left it there. The following morning, the two went back to the crime scene and they basically did a shit ass job of cleaning it up, including taking the garden hose, turning it on, and trying to clean up the blood that way. When Amber's parents came home on Sunday, they basically walked into pure horror. They recalled that there was blood everywhere, the ceilings, the counters, the refrigerator, and all over the floor. Her parents called the police. The police come. They interview the parents. They check with Border Patrol. Border Patrol confirms that yes, they went through when they said that they did, and they went into Mexico, and yes, they entered the country again when they said that they did, so they're cleared. I guess they have to do that. They hang missing poster flyers, and they put an Amber Alert out for Amber. Her friends tried to reach her via social media, but their attempts fail. While police are interviewing her friends, they tell them about the ex-boyfriends that she had, the two ex-boyfriends that she had that the parents didn't know about, so obviously didn't tell them. The police interview the ex-boyfriend and he says that they broke up amicably. Amber's aunt tells police about the abusive boyfriend that threatened her life. So what she says is that he had cheated on Amber. He wanted to get back with her and Amber refused. When she refused to get back with him, that's when he threatened to kill her. One boyfriend was babysitting that evening and the other was at a town's baseball game. Both alibis were cleared by police. So it wasn't, we know who it was, but police cleared them both. Next, police speak to Todd Hoke. He tells detectives that he was supposed to meet Amber at the movie theater with Nick that night, but after she failed to show up, he and Nick just went back to Nick's house and hung out there for the night. Nick told officers the same story, and he welcomed them to speak to his mother if they didn't believe him. So now officers have a missing teen and 4 suspects that have all been cleared. The next day, while officers are out trying to locate Amber, an officer comes across a badly burnt body in the desert 20 yards from the street on a highly traveled road. So clearly, whoever put her there was either less than smart or didn't care about hiding their crime. Along with the charred body, police also found the pictures that they were looking at and the comforter that she was wrapped in. They saw tire tracks near the body that matched the tires that were on Amber's car. They also found two sets of shoe prints, a pair of Converse All Stars and a pair of Vans. This told police that there were at least two people involved in this crime. Amber's car would later be found by a couple that was driving by that had heard about the story on the news. And the car, which we already know, which I think I already told you guys, was in very close proximity to the home of Nick and Todd. So at that point, Nick and Todd go back onto the suspect list. Technicians dust the car for fingerprints and take blood samples. There was blood in the car, the trunk, in the gear shift, and on the steering wheel. When Amber's phone records come back, police saw 3 calls that were made early Saturday morning after they believe Amber was already dead. So if she's dead, she's not calling anybody. Let's just keep it real. Who's she calling? She's dead. One at 1:18 a.m., one at 1:26 a.m., and one at 1:48 a.m. The phone number that was called would be traced back to Todd Hoke's home. Okay, so at this point, they know that Amber's already dead, so she's not making the calls. They know that the calls were made to Todd's home, but they don't know if... Because don't forget, there's a girlfriend involved too, because they haven't cleared the girlfriend yet. The girlfriend ends up being cleared. She had nothing to do with it. Officers aren't sure at first who was making the calls. That's until Todd's sister goes into the police station to tell them that her brother was calling her in the very early morning hours of Saturday, June 23rd, 2007, and that he was acting very strange. She also tells them that he was rummaging through the cabinets looking for cleaning supplies. And when she asked him what the hell he was doing, he told her that him and Nick had some stuff to clean up. Which we already know that they suck at cleaning, so. Detectives decide to bring Nick and Todd back into the station for more questioning. They put them in separate interrogation rooms. Todd is in the room with his grandmother, who's probably so cute, and she's holding rosary beads in her hands. Todd sticks to his story that he had nothing to do with the death of Amber. So, detectives pretty much know at this point that Nick and Todd are the ones that are responsible and that they're full of crap. So they decide to play a game as old as time and pin the two against each other, and this ends up working. They realize that they're not getting anywhere with Todd, so they go into the room where Nick is, and they tell Nick that Todd is basically blaming the entire thing on him. So Todd's like, dude, are you kidding me? So he breaks and he tells police everything. He tells police that the entire thing was Todd's idea. He was the mastermind behind it, and he just went along with it. And I believe that because Todd was the only one that had something to lose in this case, because Amber was pregnant. It is said that she had lost the baby, but I don't even know if Todd knew that she lost the baby. But regardless, he was the one that had something to lose, not Nick. When they go back into the room where Todd and his grandmother are, Todd also confesses to everything. When they ask Todd why he did it, he says that he did it because Amber was a bitch. I don't believe that. They don't believe that. Nobody believes that. So basically, the real reason as to why this whole thing happened will probably never be known. Todd is sentenced to life in prison, and Nick is sentenced to 22 years in prison. 3 years after Todd's sentence begins, he decides to unalive himself in his cell because he is a PUSSY that does not have the balls to pay for the crime that he has done. And that is my personal opinion. Sorry, but not really, because that's truly my opinion. Okay, guys, if you're still here, thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you and I appreciate you so, so, so very much. If you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please consider doing so. I really, really appreciate it. And until next time, stay safe out there.